quite reflective of reality, Worship. As we are about to take counsel together on matters concerning this county, we should seek to faithfully discharge our duties of office, both in our debate and in our decisions, and promote the health, safety and well-being of those we serve. Thank you. Councillors, officers, members of the public, welcome to our council meeting this evening. We're not expecting any fire drill, so if the fire alarm does sound, please leave the chamber by the next exit and assemble at the rear of the council car park. I'd also like to remind members meetings are recorded for subsequent viewing, so we must bear this in mind when discussing any sensitive matters and the impact that our words may have. And members, please can you be respectful and remain silent when other members are speaking. When you are speaking, if you're able to stand, please ensure your microphone is switched on. Speak clearly into it and switch the microphone off when you've finished speaking. And when voting, please ensure your hand is fully raised and wait until voting is confirmed before lowering it. Can you also remind members not to use their mobile phones during the meeting unless they need to step away from urgent matter. So item 1, apologies. Do we have any apologies this evening, Mr. Ebbage?
Chairman, we received apologies from Councillor Carr and McRobb, therefore we're voting to 25 this evening.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, Chairman's announcements since the last council meeting, which was only relatively recently. I have not, myself or the Vice Chairman, have not been to any engagements. Item 3 is announcements from the leader members of the Cabinet or the Head of Paid Service. Now invite the acting leader to address the Council. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd like to cover a couple of things, but firstly I'd probably like to say, if you like the sound of my voice, you're in for a treat this evening, because there's just slight relief from the Chairman and my colleague on my left, and I'm taking the meeting by the look of it, which is going to be wonderful. What I thought I'd talk about is a couple of things. Firstly, about the fact that because we took a decision to raise council tax by 2% at the last meeting, we've now changed the ranking of Rutland as being the worst council for council tax, as in the highest council for council tax, and we're now the 8th highest, which is actually quite a significant move. What it also means is that we feature in a BBC website that was published today, and we released a press release on it. And I think we need to understand what it does for us, because Rutland is one of 4 counties or councils that increased by 2-point-something%. I think we're probably the lowest, if we can establish that, which is extremely good. And I think it's down to the working of the council and the working of the officers within the council, because it's taken a lot of hard work to be as financially prudent as we have been to do that. So I hope you read the press release. I hope the public see the press release, and it gives them some confidence that we are trying to do the right thing at all times. The second thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll be relatively brief with both of these, is about the war in Iran and the implications for the council. Now, I haven't got a crystal ball, so I'm not going to say I know what the implications are, but I happen to be 70 next month. So in 1973 I was 17, and the first oil shock was incredible. The first thing I noticed about it was I received a letter telling me to go to the post office to pick up my petrol ration vouchers. I had a motorbike, and that really brought it home. So I think the results of the war could be very unpredictable. In the 70s we had 3 and a bit oil price shocks, and it completely devastated the economies throughout the world. I clearly remember in May 1977 looking at a headline in a newspaper which said inflation reaches 27%. We don't want to see that, but that's an incredible thing to have to deal with. And if I go back to the price of petrol, because I've got a good memory for these things, At the turn of the decade in 1970, a gallon of petrol was approximately 5 shillings, just a bit over 5 shillings. That's 25p in new money. And by the end of the decade, it was 99 pence a gallon. Petrol had quadrupled in the decade. Now, whether we're looking at something like that, or whether we're not looking at something like that, I don't know. But it is going to be a challenge to deal with. What I really want to emphasise, though, is that I've got confidence that Rutland County Council, of all councils, has got an extremely prudent financial setup. We have a very thorough budgeting process and a very thorough financial management process. So of all councils, I would hope that we can withstand some of the shocks for as long as possible. But it's going to be a very unpredictable. I hope that we all engage and help the council work properly during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Do any other members of the Cabinet wish to speak? Okay, Councillor Smith first and then Councillor Wise.
Thank you, Chair. As the portfolio holder for Children's Services, I just want to update members on a number of government programmes and our own initiatives that come through to us, and they've come through in a relatively short space of time, and some members may not be aware of all of them. You will be aware, though, of the Send Change programme that came at the last council meeting, which we have informed that 90% of our schools grant will be taken off of this year. However, to access the new funding for the next 2 years, we must provide a credible reform plan for the DSG. And to do that, we are involved in the East Midlands Partnership, and that should come up with a strategy this June. We also have our own building better belonging strategy, which meshes in with the East Midlands Change Partnership. But, again, we have strategy to reduce the funding. You will be aware also of the school's white paper, and one of the initiatives of that school white paper is that local authorities and the schools have to work much more collaboratively together. And again, we started that. We've already had a meeting with our primary and secondary schools, and we've arranged further meetings to discuss how we work together. We have the Families First programme. It's another government initiative, and this is targeting early help and children in need services together, that children need, and it brings together the services in a coherent whole. There's also the Best Start in Life programme, and the target the government has set is that all 5-year-olds should have a good level of development, 75% by the age of 5 years old, and we're not far off that. Particularly because we've invested in early years, talking with education and health. The other one we've had is a drive on fostering to recruit more foster carers, and you will probably be aware, because we discussed at Cabinet, about fostering adaptations for foster carers and kinship carers, and that will enable them to keep their children they foster, look after, and also may be able to take on extras. And there are other initiatives we've taken, particularly in our corporate parent strategy, where we've tried, for example, to have chaired by one of our care leavers, and I do alternative side of the other one. So I just wanted to bring up to date on the programmes that are taking place. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Wise.
I promised some time ago to give an update on where we were with the highways refresh. The Highways and Transport Customer Experience Project continues to make strong progress. Fix My Street Pro, notice, Fix My Street Pro upgrade is being integrated with Confirm. Those of you that don't know, we have some wonderful software packages. They work beautifully on their own. They hate talking to each other. And so there is a piece of work to get Fix My Street Pro to talk to Confirm. Confirm is the piece of software that tells the contractors what they're actually doing. So it's rather important that the two speak to each other. The completion of this work remains the key dependency for the April relaunch. So if we're not ready in April, expect to see steam coming out of the windows in IT. Early testing shows improved mapping accuracy, duplicate report detection, which if you've ever looked at my street is very important. We have some potholes being reported 7 and 8 times, and more reliable case updates, so fingers crossed. The website refresh is also well advanced. Every highways page has now been reviewed, will be simplified and mapped onto the new Learn, Apply, Report structure. When we analysed website usage, people were either wanting to learn something, like how big does a pothole have to be before I can report it, to apply for something or to report something. So the new structure should make it much clearer to support navigation and reduce failure for residents. Work is also underway to align future online forms with that structure, providing a more intuitive and consistent experience for residents. Preparations for launch are well underway, including updated customer messaging, member briefings, we all love those, and internal training. We're planning a soft launch period in early April. This is different to the food waste one where we really went for it. It's going to be a nice gentle launch, including a briefing to parish councils so we can closely monitor how the system performs before wider public communications go out. So at that soft launch, if there are problems that show up, we will be working on the system before we go for the big bang. It's here. Overall, the project remains on track for an April 26 go live, with sequencing carefully managed to ensure a smooth transition and a reliable customer experience from day one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wise. I was just thinking whether there's a fix my street app. fixing my street. Obviously not. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say there's some good news which I consider is quite relevant to ongoing successes in the planning side. We've just found that out of the 140, well not just found, we've just calculated out of the 149 net new builds this year, 82 of those were affordable homes. 8 were in shared ownership, 28 were in socially rented properties, and 46 affordable rents. This is a considerable improvement on previous years, and I'm very pleased that this progress is continuing, because what we basically need are the affordable homes coming forward to bounce off the 5-bedroom homes that the developers seem to be so pleased to be putting up all over the place. On a major policy side, there's been many changes. The latest being the government will shortly be establishing, by virtue of the Planning and Infrastructure Act 2025, what are called strategic development strategy areas. These areas will be of high-level planning. So it is grouping districts together under this board, which will monitor and plan for future development throughout the whole of that area. These areas usually comprise in the combined authorities or mayoral areas. But in such areas of Rutland where these don't exist, the government will shortly decide its composition. The same Act restricts the founding area authorities to be comprised initially and exclusively of unity authorities within that area itself. All the noises to date from the Ministry of Housing, Community and Local Government point towards an area which we will be in, comprised solely of Leicestershire, Leicester City and Rutland. Should that be the case, then Rutland will feature prominently on the board itself as one of the only 3 unitary areas within that board. This will enable Rutland's interest to be considered from the start, and I think this is a very lucky part of the legislation that will help this county. We also have the new NPPF, and I understand another one coming forward as well in March of next year, so it's going to be difficult to keep that abreast. And we have major changes in the planning and the running of our planning committee in the Act, the Planning and Infrastructure Act, and I've asked that we could have a briefing on that, because I think the element of the questions we often get asked as councillors about planning, and we need to know how those drastic changes will affect our responses to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Item 4 is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest this evening? No. Okay, item 5 is minutes of the previous meeting. This was the meeting held on the 26th of February. Members who were not at the meeting should abstain. So I'll move from the chair that the minutes of the meeting be approved as an accurate record. Do I have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Powell. All those in favour of the minutes being approved?
24, Chair.
All those against? Abstentions?
All abstentions carried, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 6 is petitions, deputations and questions from members of the public. There are none. Questions from members of the council is item 7. So it's one question this evening. Councillor Heckles, can you please ask your question as submitted?
Thank you. This is a question for Councillor Wise. I'm always horrified by the amount of litter that I see on the A1. It does seem particularly bad when you enter Rutland. How is England responsible for the road maintenance, but what can be done to clear this up?
Councillor Heckles, Councillor Wise.
Thank you for the question and the opportunity to say live, can people please stop throwing litter? It's not breeding there, that's coming out of people's car windows, off the back of vehicles that have got them open backs. That has to be our first response. Can people please stop throwing litter? We do carry out regular litter monitoring across the county, and levels of litter in Rutland are generally very low. The exception to this is the A1, and we recognise that it's a litter hotspot. Unfortunately, this will remain a problem for as long as people continue to drop litter. I don't think they're actually dropping it, I think they're lobbing it out the window. We are not alone with this problem, and all the other local authorities along the entire stretch of the A1 face the same issues that we do. Litter picking on the Rutland stretch of the A1 is the responsibility of Rutland County Council, but litter picking on high-speed roads like this is not a straightforward task, and crews can risk their safety attempting to pick up litter other people have dropped. Whilst we expect the crews to carry out scheduled works to the best of their ability, we do not expect that they put themselves in danger. Ultimately, a step in the wrong direction or a vehicle veering off course could lead to a fatality. Last year, Rutland County Council purchased and installed 25 bin housings for the lay-bys on the A1. This aimed to increase and improve the availability of bins and to ensure that there was plenty of capacity for people using the lay-bys to dispose of litter responsibly. Unfortunately, some of these have already been broken by HGV drivers not paying enough attention when parking. We're currently speaking with National Highways to see if they would be able to install some permanent bases for these bins within the verges of the lay-bys, but in positions where they can't be struck or flattened by HGVs, or at least not without determined effort by the HGV. We're currently working with South Rutland Council to pilot the use of their specialist street cleaning crews. On the 11th of February, a team of 12 worked along the lay-bys within Rutland to carry out a deep clean, and it's rather shocking to note that a total of 2,140 kilograms of waste was removed. Following the deep clean, a 12-week pilot began with an additional weekly visit to these lay-bys by the SKDC team, on top of the scheduled weekly visits carried out by our street cleansing contractor, to test if this makes a marked difference to the current levels of litter being experienced. However, I say again, litter can only be eliminated if users of the lay-by stop dropping litter and either use the bins or take their litter home. Thank you.
Councillor Wise, Councillor Heckles, do you have a supplementary?
I don't think, I wish I could wear the magic wand, I can't, and I think we're all in that position. I don't think it can easily be fixed, but I was very much struck by polythene sheets down the central reservation. If they start blowing around, they could block someone's vision very easily.
Is this a question, Councillor Heckles?
I'm getting to the question, thank you. It would be very helpful if, on behalf of Rutland Council, you could write to Highways England and ask them if they could, maybe when they're undertaking roadworks, if they could do a collaboration with Rutland Council and help to clear up the litter. I would certainly be happy if the road was cleared. I'd certainly stand up and volunteer. And in the meantime, would we be able to put up some no litter signs around the county? Thank you.
Councillor Heckles, wish to respond, Councillor Wise?
I don't know whether we can put signs up on the A1. I suspect not. We probably need form in triplicate to be able to do that. But we can certainly consider whether we can put some up elsewhere in Rutland before people get onto the A1.
Councillor Wise, item 8 is referral of committee decisions to the Council. There are none. Item 9 is calling the decisions from Cabinet meetings during the period from the 26th of February to the 26th of March 2026. There are none of those. Item 10 is a report from Cabinet, and we have one report from Cabinet this evening. This is a report on the use of special urgency provisions, pages 13 to 16 in your pack. So this is report number 40/2026. Councillor Johnston, can you please introduce the item and propose it to be noted?
Thank you, Chair. This is a recommendation that the Council notes the Cabinet's use of special urgency provisions in relation to a decision made by Cabinet on the 10th of March this year in relation to extending the current subsidy offer for Council commissioned public services. The action and recommendation are covered under Procedure Rules 107 and 108 of the Constitution. At its meeting on the 12th of November, Cabinet approved the new transport network review, including funding free fares on the new Rutland Call Connect Demand Responsive DRT network. It was originally proposed that this would be for the first 3 months, followed by a fixed fare of £1 a trip for all paying passengers. The offer of free fares was subsequently extended to cover the 2025-26 financial year, following the award in December 2024 of a 1-year settlement of bus grant funding for 2025-26 for the Department for Transport. The Council has now received further grant funding from the Department of Transport through confirmation of a multi-year local authority bus grant settlement, which has enabled the continuation of the current subsidy offer on Council commissioned public transport. However, the original decision by Cabinet in November 2024 was for a time-limited subsidy only. Therefore, a fresh Cabinet decision was required in this case to extend the subsidy offer. It was not considered reasonable to defer a decision on extension of the subsidy until a later meeting of Cabinet in April, as to do so would have created an interim period of several weeks without any subsidy, which would have created disruption and confusion for residents, particularly as bus use is going up on this service. As details of the grant were not confirmed until the 2nd of March 2026, it had not been possible to advertise any Cabinet item via the forward plan, and it was not in time for the previous council. It was also not possible for an additional meeting to be convened to accept the grant for the government deadline of the 20th of March this year, and therefore this was accepted under delegated authority and reported to Cabinet on the 10th of March at the same time, in accordance with existing provisions in the Financial Procedure Rules of Part 9 of the Constitution. The Chair of the Strategic Overview and Scrutiny Committee was consulted and agreed that the proposed decision could not reasonably be deferred to a later Cabinet meeting for the reasons set out above, and agreed that the matter could therefore be considered by Cabinet on the 10th of March 2026. The key reason for this item is that we are able to extend free bus fares for everybody on our services for the next year at least, and we hope to be able to extend it in future years. So we believe that this will continue an excellent trend of bus service use going up year on year, as it has done since the DRT was introduced. So I move the recommendation, Chairman, and look for a second.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wise. Okay, members, we're open to debate. Does any members wish to speak on this item? In that case, the report is duly noted. Item 11 is a report from committees of the Council. There's no reports from committees this evening. Item 12, reports on scrutiny. There are no reports on scrutiny this evening. Item 13 is joint arrangements and external organisations, pages 17 to 18 of your pack. 3 written reports have been received, and I'll invite each member to speak to their report with an opportunity for questions. Councillor Wise, would you like to speak on your report?
No, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Councillor Wise on their report? Okay, Councillor Waller, would you like to speak on both of your reports?
I would just like to draw members' attention particularly to my report on the East Midlands Council's meeting, specifically the session we had for on local government reorganisation and the process that we need to go through, because it isn't a case of waiting until vesting day. We will have to start work now, and I think the points we were given at that meeting were very helpful, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Waller, any questions for Councillor Waller? In case those reports will be taken as received and noted. Item 14 is notices of motion. There are none. Item 15 is pay policy statement, pages 19 to 34 of your pack, report number 01/2026 from Councillor Johnson. So can you please introduce the item and propose a motion?
Thank you, Chair. My microphone was on there. This report presents the Council's pay policy statement for 2026-27. The policy statement is a factual document that is required to be approved by Council annually under the Council's obligations under the Localism Act 2011. The Council continues to implement a pay policy in accordance with nationally agreed local government pay awards and rates. The recommendation is that Council approves the pay policy statement. I won't spend time on the attached appendix of all the rates and the schedules, because it's important to note that these are schedules and rates applying for the 2025-26 year, and the rates in the future for 2026-27 are still under negotiation. I think that's sufficient on that subject, Chairman, so I propose the motion.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Harvey. Case we're open to debate. If any members wish to speak on this item. In that case, Councillor Johnson, do you need to sum up? Seems you haven't spoken for nearly 30 seconds.
I don't feel the need to do that at all, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay, the motion is that Council approves the recommendations at section 1.2 of the report. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
to unanimous, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion is therefore carried. Item 16 is Members' Allowance Scheme, pages 35 to 52 of your pack. This is report number 26/2026. To Councillor Johnson again, can you please introduce and propose the motion?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's me again. This report proposes member allowances scheme for 2026-27, which requires council approval. The recommendation is that the council approve the member allowances scheme for 2026-27 at Appendix A and as set out. The council is required to approve a member allowances scheme annually, and the changes set out in 2.1.3 of the preamble here necessitate early consideration and has been usual practice in recent years. You will note that that talks about expanding the list of officers authorised to approve member expenses claims because of the current load and the current movement in personnel. I don't think I'm going to go through all the allowances. We are normally tied to the chief executive's side of the pay scales, and that tends to be a lower pay increase, or has been over recent years, compared to staff pay increases. So it's important that we keep up with inflation such as it is, and I propose the motion to approve.
Councillor Johnson, do we have a seconder? Councillor Paul Brown. So we're now open to debate, members. Any members wish to speak on this item? In that case, sir, do you wish to sum up, Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Chairman. No.
Motion is that council approves the recommendations at section 1.2 of the report. All those in favour, please raise.
24, Chair.
All those against?
1, Chair.
So there's no abstentions.
That's carried, Chair.
So the motion therefore is carried. Item 17, appointment of leader of the council, pages 53 to 56 of your pack. Before we begin this item, I'd like to invite Councillor Waller to address the council.
Thank you very much, Chairman. It has been an honour to lead this small but beautifully formed council. Rutland is a very special place, and one of which we are rightly proud. When I became leader, I'd not anticipated the difficulties the county was in. Our budget was heading towards a serious deficit, difficult decisions had been delayed or avoided, and the transformation programme had stalled. In some areas we had significant staff shortages, but under my leadership we got the budget under control, indeed to the point where we only need to increase council tax by 2% next year. The transformation programme is back on track and staffing levels are far better. Under my leadership we purchased waste trucks to improve the efficiency and cost effectiveness of our waste collection, and are on track to meet the government's requirements for food waste collection, unlike many other councils. We purchased buses, which has enabled the rollout of the demand responsive transport system, so that every resident in Rutland has access to public transport, something many rural areas envy. And despite the setback of not receiving heritage lottery funding for the museum, we quickly reviewed our options and developed a phased approach which has begun to establishing a vibrant cultural centre in Oakham. I am proud of what we have achieved under my leadership. So why, you might ask, am I standing down? What I've not mentioned, colleagues, is the curved ball the government threw at us in late 2024 in the form of local government reorganisation. I think it's safe to say that if left to our own devices, we might well have tried to expand Rutland by joining with neighbouring authorities, but we would not have confined ourselves to the LLR footprint government required. Nevertheless, we did our best in a difficult position and managed to submit a proposal that was the least worst option under the circumstances. During this process, I lobbied hard to retain Rutland's civic status. I got to know the train line into London very well. And I'm very pleased, as I announced at the last council meeting, that I was successful. Rutland's administrative boundaries will change, but the essence of Rutland will remain. Ministers will make their decisions on local government reorganisation, and whatever the outcome, this council and the shadow council elected in 2027 will create a new administrative unit. I believe in succession planning, and as I am not intending to stand in 2027, it is important that whomever leads the council now is around to finish the job as a councillor of the new authority in 2028. Continuity is key, and I cannot provide that continuity. So thank you to everyone who has supported me during my time as leader, councillors and officers alike. It has been a difficult period for us all, and local government reorganisation has had the potential to distract from the day job. So real credit must go to our Chief Executive and all his staff for not allowing distraction to happen. And finally, I'd like to thank our Chairman for allowing me time to complete this statement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Wallop, and from the Chair, I'd like to thank you for your public service. We will now proceed to elect a new leader of the Council. Do you have any nominations? Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Chair. As an independent, I've always believed in that this such a small, and as Councillor Waller said, such a beautifully formed county, we should be working collaboratively together to deliver the best possible services for our residents, and not to be divided along those party political lines that we see so often appearing. However, I'm fully aware that we do operate in this political environment, and I have served on cabinets both with Conservatives and with Liberal Democrats, where I've seen a lot of good work going on building the foundations, although obviously I've never served with both those colleagues at the same time, illustrating my point. We've got 2 years left for Rutland County Council. I'm a pragmatist and believe what we need now is stability and a focus on delivering for our residents. I've worked with Councillor Wise over the last 3 years, and I believe that she's the skills and ability to take up the leadership role in these challenging times, and therefore I'd like to nominate her as leader. Thank you.
So was that a proposal?
Sorry, I said nominate.
You did.
Proposal.
Okay, we have a seconder. Councillor Johnson. Are there any other nominations? In that case, Councillor Wise, would you like to address Council before we proceed to the vote?
On the basis that we're in a small but perfectly formed authority, I'll make a short, I'd like to make a short statement. Councillors sat around these tables tonight are here because they care about Rutland. They care about its residents and they care about its future. We may have different views about how we got to where we are or the best way forward, but we probably agree on more than we disagree about, and I think we need to remember that. The next 2 years are not going to be like any we have faced before. This is new territory for all of us, our officers and our residents. It's going to be local government, but not as we've known it. I believe it's going to need a particular style of leadership, one that has vision, listens, shares, builds bridges, and looks at things differently. I believe I can bring that style of leadership to this council, and I would like the opportunity to prove them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wise. In case we will proceed to the vote. All those in favour of Councillor Wise, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Chairman.
Those against? Any abstentions? In that case, Councillor Wise is duly appointed as the leader of the council. Sorry? Oh, yes, oh yeah, right. So there was quite a lot that were in favour, so it's quite...
19 votes in favour and 6 against, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Wise, you are duly appointed. Would you like to address council?
Thank you. I'm actually truly humbled, and I'm not going to say very much. You'll expect me to make an announcement about Cabinet. The Cabinet will largely remain unchanged from one that Councillor Waller so ably set up and coached, but with a couple of changes. Councillor Waller will no longer be in the Cabinet to give her time for the other duties which she has gained, and Councillor Hemsley will be joining us. I hope this makes clear that this is not a Lib Dem Cabinet with a token independent in Councillor Powell, but a coalition Cabinet and a coalition administration. The exact roles will be detailed later. Thank you again for your support. We've got a busy 2 years ahead of us, and it's all of us who are going to have to face that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wise, and congratulations on being appointed. Item 18 and 19 are any urgent business and the date of next meeting. I'm sure members will want to, along with me, wish Councillors Carter and Rob a speedy recovery from their illnesses. They're both poorly today, which is why they're not here. I've not been made aware of any urgent business for consideration. Oh, Councillor Wise, your thing is still on. The next meeting of Council will be Thursday, 21st of May, which is annual Council. As members will be aware, our Democratic Services Officer is leaving shortly, and I would like to thank him on behalf of members for the excellent... Sorry, Democratic Services Manager. Tom, you wrote this. So shall I start again? Our Democratic Services Manager is leaving shortly, so I'd like to thank him on behalf of members for the excellent job he has done in that role, and wish him every success in his future chosen career. That concludes the business of this meeting. Thank you, members. I declare the meeting closed at 19:43. Can members please remain in their seats while I say a few more private words of thanks to our Democratic Services Manager. It says officer here as well.
I didn't write that one.